About a month ago, I did a video covering Dropbox's stock called Hard Truth Before You Consider Investing in Dropbox. So today I wanted to do a quick follow-up addressing some of the concerns that came up in the comment section and also take a moment to look at how the stock has done in the last month. Welcome back, family. My name is Trey, getting in touch with you from Japan. Today we're going to be taking another look at the Dropbox stock. Interestingly, since that last video, the channel has grown a lot. We got a lot of views on that video, and a lot of people in the comments section saying, dude, you're stupid. I think you're wrong about Dropbox. I love Dropbox, so you're wrong, kind of thing. So we're gonna look at some of those comments, some of those concerns, and I also wanted to take a quick look at the stock price itself. Taking a look here at the 1 month chart, we see that basically the stock price has gone nowhere. It's basically trended sideways. One of the concerns I brought up in the last video is that cloud storage in general seems to be getting commoditized, which basically means that 5 gigabytes is 5 gigabytes is 5 gigabytes, regardless of where you have it. And there's not a lot differentiating these different services. And so I said, hey guys, we should also consider other companies who offer cloud services like Microsoft, like Apple, and also mention Dropbox's new service called HelloSign, competing against competitors like DocuSign. So I wanted to take a look at those stock price charts as well for the last month. Check it out, Apple has done quite well, especially in the last week. They have a big event coming up basically tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what happens after that. But it looks like their stock price has gone up about 10 bucks. Check out the Microsoft stock ticker, gone up about 15 bucks in the month, and DocuSign has gone up 25 bucks in the last month, all compared to Dropbox, which has basically gone nowhere. I'm a little bit surprised to see that Dropbox's stock price hasn't really gone up. Another thing we talked about in the last video was that they do have good financials. They've been showing growth each quarter, but one of my big concerns with them was that they weren't converting their massive amount of already existing subscribers into paying customers. So I wanted to take a look at that today. But before doing that, I also wanted to share my kind of biased side of this argument. I love Dropbox, and in this past month, looking more into a lot of their products, I love it even more now. We do use Dropbox here, and I considered getting Dropbox stock when I was preparing for the last video, but decided not to because of a lot of the kind of like potential concerns I had with them. Just to put that out there for you guys. Another thing I mentioned last time was that Dropbox has more than 500 million users, but only about 3% of those are paying Dropbox something. So Dropbox is using a lot of server space, a lot of server power to be able to provide free services for a lot of people. Additionally, about 80% of Dropbox users are using Dropbox's 2 free gigabytes for business activities, but not paying for that. So that goes to show that a lot of their users are not so easy to convert into paying users. Here's a quick look right now at some of the differences in their pricing plans, but one big thing I wanted to note here was that on all of these screens, they don't show you the free version anymore. They don't show you the free offering. And actually, if you go onto their website, it's much harder now to find, like, how do I just sign up for a free trial or for a free 2 gigabytes of service? It used to be like really easy to do that, but it seems like they're taking steps to say, hey, if you're coming on as a user now, we want you to be paying, which is a good sign to see. So check it out on their pricing page. It just shows Plus plan, Professional plan, and then for Teams, Standard and Advanced plans. They show you all these different services they're now offering. So looking at the productivity and sharing tools chart, there's not a huge difference between the Plus plan and the Professional plan, but there is a bigger difference between the free plan, which isn't even listed here, and the Plus plan. So that just goes to show you that they're pushing people harder to be paying users. And then, as mentioned in previous videos, looking over here at the team management portion, they're starting to offer more and more stuff that makes it easier for teams to work well and work in coordination on Dropbox. So one of my biggest concerns in the last video was like, dude, how are they going to convert all these millions and millions of free users into paying users? And still right now, if you're a free user, you go on the website and there's not a lot of like, hey, you need to upgrade soon, or like, hey, we're lowering your free allowance from 2 gigabytes to 1 gigabyte. And one of the really tricky positions they've gotten themselves into, because cloud storage is becoming commoditized, is like Microsoft and iCloud and Google and all these big players are kind of like, hey, here's 2 free gigabytes, or here's 5 free gigabytes. I think Dropbox was around before some of these players, but they've always said, here's 2 free gigabytes. So if they were to now say, actually, we're just gonna make it 1 gigabyte. Now you have to start paying for anything more than 1 gigabyte. That's gonna piss off so many people, and therefore making it really hard to convert people up. And yeah, they're starting to offer more services like Paper and Transfer and Showcase, which are really quite good. Like, dude, this last month I've used Paper so much and I freaking love it, especially for team collaboration. It's just like something about the formatting that just makes it easy to just write for hours, and then popping in notes, other users popping in, checking things out and popping in notes, or adding in like little spreadsheet type things. You can link videos, you can link other pictures, and then other people can take the pictures out of the document in full resolution and stuff like that. Dude, Paper is really good. All that to say, they're starting to add some of these new features that are really, really nice. But I think if you're a free user, you still get to use them. It's not like, hey, we have all these extra features that are super dope, come pay and use them. They're just giving you everything for free anyways. So it seems like in order to get you to switch up from being a 2 gigabyte free user to a paying 5 gigabyte plus user, the only kind of trigger is you've run out of your 2 gigabytes, so please pay us for more. And I feel like that's still a bit like nebulous because cloud storage is commoditized. So it'll be really interesting to see how they end up pulling that lever to get people, without pissing them off, to get people to becoming paying users. And I think that's really gonna be the linchpin that they need to, figure out to become majorly profitable and to continue growing big time going into the future. Another concern that came up in the comments section last time was that a lot of people were saying like, dude, Dropbox is really easy to use on my various devices, regardless of if it's Microsoft or Apple or Linux or iPhone or Android or whatever. And I agree with you. Dropbox is like so slick. Once you get it figured out and set up properly. We had a little bit of friction with some of the computers on our team trying to figure out how to make it work really smoothly with Mac. Like for example, these videos are like 10 gigabytes. Uploading, these videos and sharing it with the team so that they can start editing and start figuring things out. There are some not so obvious steps you need to take to be able to make it work really well, especially on MacBooks that don't have a lot of storage. But once you figure those out, it just makes things really, really easy and really nice. And I still believe that the offering that Dropbox has, once you get those things figured out, is superior to all the other competitors. But some of the comments I got in the previous video were like, dude, Dropbox is superior to these other players' offerings, and therefore the stock price will go up. And I think we really need to be careful about that attitude, because there are like so many examples in the past of companies providing a good service, yet still going out of business, or companies being the best at something, but their stock price not really growing. So it's really important to watch out for that kind of attitude. Like, this service is great, therefore the stock price guaranteed will go up, because that's not the case. We need to take a step back and look at like a lot of other factors, including competition, including what's on the horizon, including how they can monetize their existing user base and all these different things, as well as debt load, how the management thinks about doing things going forward and things like that. And so just because Dropbox is a great user experience, that does not equal the stock price will double or triple or make me a huge amount of money going forward here. And another thing to mention is that for me personally, like certain things on iCloud are just way better and easier. Like if I'm syncing pictures and movies between my phones and computers. Google, like spreadsheets, for example, is way easier to use for having big, heavy-duty spreadsheets and sharing them with the team. So even if we're not paying for those other features, those are still cloud services that are kind of like, hey buddy, we still got your attention, you still need us. And I think that's one thing that you need to be aware of as well, because I don't think Dropbox will be able to come up with offerings that just like eventually eliminate all the competition. I'm not saying Apple or Google or Microsoft or other players are necessarily going to do that either. But As long as in our consciousness, when we think about cloud storage, in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I use Dropbox for X, and I use iCloud for Y, and I use Google storage stuff and different services for Z. As long as my mind is being split between all these things, I don't think having that mindset of Dropbox is the best, therefore it will go up, is going to get you very far going into the future as far as stock price appreciation. That being said, like I mentioned earlier, Dropbox Paper is the bomb. Transfer and showcase and just the usability between all these different services is really, really good. And those are all upsides that Dropbox has on their sides. Basically, the question is, how are they going to leverage that, and will they be able to be profitable big time going into the future? Another comment that came up a lot after the last video was that, dude, cloud storage is getting so big. Everybody's files are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, so therefore Dropbox will win, or therefore Dropbox will have an advantage or something like that. Like I mentioned a minute ago with like iCloud and all these other services, there are different factors kind of pulling us in different directions for all these different services. And yes, because people are working at home more, and yes, because there will be a greater need for cloud computing in the future, I think Dropbox will continue to grow its user base and probably therefore its profitability. That does not necessarily translate to the stock price will become huge going into the future. That's just one other factor to consider before you consider investing in Dropbox. So going back to their stock price from the beginning of the video, looks like when we look at the 52-week lows and highs, we're kind of right there in the middle between 14 bucks and 24 bucks. Not a lot of appreciation in the last month. When comparing them to competitors who have gone up in the last month, doesn't necessarily mean that Dropbox is inferior in some way. One of the tricky things when evaluating the financials of a company, especially in between earnings reports, is that we're very limited outside of the company to see exactly how much conversion is happening, how much profitability is happening, or how much cost cutting is happening. And so for me personally, I still kind of sit on the fence. Like, I just love Dropbox's service so much. Like, the PE ratio on their stock is still like, the forward PE is like a 22. And like profitability is still like, you know, teetering on the edge. They're saying they're going to become more profitable coming up soon. And I think that's another argument a lot of people say, hey, going forward here, they're going to be super profitable. And therefore, if you get in now, you're going to be going for a good ride going into the future here. And that's, for me, where I'm at now. It's kind of like, that's the big question mark that we need to have a little bit more clarity on. Like, I'm not going to be hating on you if you're grabbing some Dropbox now in hopes that it goes up. But it seems like they haven't really like locked it down. Like, there are certain like industry changing things, like, and I always go back to Tesla when sharing about this, and Tesla has ballooned to become like by far my biggest stock holding. But there were points in the past where it's like, oh dude, they just came out with this new technology that they're going to apply to all their cars, or to their new battery technology, or like autopilot is just about to hit, you know, like the top level full autonomy. These are all going to be like locked in game changers where it's like, this is going to change the world. And Dropbox has yet to show me that. Again, I love Dropbox's services and we enjoy them every day on our team and we pay them some money. But I don't think the hundreds of millions of users that they already have are one day going to be like, oh dude, I haven't been paying them. Their service is so awesome. Dude, I have to start paying them because they're going to be changing the world right now, you know? And so that's kind of the big trigger that needs to be flipped for them to be locking in like that really, really punchy, revolutionary, world-changing stock price growth that I haven't really seen yet. And I don't know if they'll actually be able to pull that off. So that's one of the things I'm really interested in seeing going forward here. And if they can kind of show me a little bit more of that, then I might jump in even if I am a little bit late, even if I didn't get it at 18 bucks or 20 bucks. But there's just so much new competition, it seems like, coming in every day. There are like more specialists that are kind of like Dropbox and Slack put together type things. There are other companies like Switch who are offering really, really, really high security facilities to just lock down all of your documents and files on the cloud that you use with them. Like, there are just even more little super niches that are coming up in this cloud storage industry. And I don't know if Dropbox offers enough of difference to be able to capitalize things. I also did a video on a company called Box, one of their competitors recently. Check it out if you haven't seen that one. And they took a really different strategy of basically going to really, really big Fortune 500 companies, starting with monetization and then working down to start offering free plans to the masses. And the profit ratio they're seeing on a way smaller user base is like a very different story from Dropbox. And so I'm not saying go out and buy box stock because it's superior. I'm just saying these are all different factors we should be considering when trying to figure out, is Dropbox a really premium kind of stock investment that I need to be grabbing at this moment? Or are there other better investments for my money right now with all the change on the horizon, especially with the election coming up? So that's just some food for thought for you in October on Dropbox. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments, your concerns. Am I like super wrong? Like, did I totally screw up some of the information? Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys very much for your time. Thanks for watching all the way to the end as well. Love you and have a great week.